In the peaceful town of Willow Creek, where rolling fields stretched out like golden carpets and families lived in quiet suburban comfort, life had always been simple. For me, it was even more personal, because I owned a farm that had been in my family for 3 generations. The land was not just soil and crops, it was my legacy, my pride, and my safe haven away from the noise of Washington, D.C. That's right, while most of the neighborhood saw me as just another farmer tending his land, what they didn't know was that I held a very different identity. By day I looked like a simple man in jeans, boots, and a sun hat, but my real job was serving as the United States Secretary of Transportation. I had chosen to keep that part of my life private in Willow Creek because I wanted peace, not politics. Unfortunately, my homeowners association, or rather, the tyrannical woman who ran it, had other plans. Karen Whitmore, the self-proclaimed queen of the HOA, had been causing me trouble ever since I moved into the farmhouse. She hated my tractors parked outside, complained about the smell of the barn, and even fined me once for having unsightly crops. She wanted every inch of Willow Creek to look like a magazine cover suburb, even if it meant destroying its history. But nothing prepared me for the day I woke up to find construction crews on my property. At first, I thought they were utility workers, maybe laying down some new power lines, but when I saw bulldozers tearing into my fields, flattening the earth, and surveying stakes stretching in straight lines across acres of corn, my stomach dropped. I stormed out, demanding to know what they were doing, and the foreman, looking nervous, handed me a document signed by the HOA board. According to them, they had approved a project to build a private neighborhood airstrip for wealthy residents who owned small planes. And where did they decide to build it? Right through the middle of my farm. "You can't do this," I shouted, gripping the paper in disbelief. "This is private property." The foreman shrugged helplessly. "Take it up with your HOA. We're just following orders." Furious, I marched straight to Karen's immaculate 2-story home, where she stood on the porch sipping coffee like a queen surveying her kingdom. She didn't even look surprised to see me stomping up her driveway. "Oh, good morning," she said with that smug smile. "I see you've noticed the progress. Isn't it exciting? Willow Creek is about to become the first HOA community with its own runway. Property values will skyrocket." I clenched my fists. "You can't just steal my land. This is illegal." She raised an eyebrow, feigning innocence. "Illegal? The HOA board approved it unanimously. You should have read the bylaws more carefully when you moved in." Section 14, Paragraph 7a. We reserve the right to repurpose land for community benefit. Besides, it's just a farm. Nobody really cares about some cornfields. That was the moment I realized Karen had no idea who I really was. To her, I was just a farmer she could bulldoze over. She thought this was a battle over crops, but it was about to become a war over federal law. Still, I held my tongue. There's a saying in politics, never show your full hand too early. Instead, I quietly went back home, pulled out my phone, and made a single call to my office in D.C. "Get the fan involved," I ordered. Effective immediately. Within days, things began to unravel for Karen and her little empire. Federal Aviation Administration inspectors showed up unannounced, shutting down the construction site with bright orange violation notices plastered on every piece of machinery. Workers were forced to halt mid-dig, and neighbors started whispering. Karen, of course, was livid. She stormed to my farm, red-faced and screeching. "Did you do this? Did you call the feds?" she demanded. I met her gaze calmly. "You tried to build a runway through federal agricultural land without permits, without environmental review, and without clearance from the Department of Transportation. Do you have any idea how many laws you've broken?" She blinked, clearly caught off guard. "The broken bar? How do you know all this?" That was when I finally revealed my card. "Because, Karen," I said, my voice steady but cold, "I am the United States Secretary of Transportation, and you just tried to build an unlicensed runway on federal jurisdiction. Congratulations, you've put this entire community under investigation." The look on her face was priceless. Her smug confidence melted into shock, then horror. She sputtered, You're lying." There's no why, but her words died when a convoy of black SUVs pulled up the street, carrying federal agents, lawyers, and FA officials. They weren't there for me. They were there because of her reckless stunt. The entire neighborhood gathered to watch as agents spread out, collecting documents, interviewing workers, and snapping photos. One official turned to me and nodded respectfully. "Secretary, we'll handle it from here." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Suddenly, every neighbor who had once sided with Karen's bullying realized who I truly was. The Ho Queen who had ruled with an iron fist now looked like a criminal standing on her porch. Over the next few weeks, the investigation uncovered a mountain of corruption. Karen had been embezzling Ho funds, forging signatures on board approvals, and accepting under-the-table payments from a local developer who wanted to turn Willow Creek into a luxury airpark community. Her Runway project wasn't for the neighborhood at all, it was for profit. When the evidence became overwhelming, Karen was arrested right in front of the community she had once terrorized. Neighbors watched as she was led away in handcuffs, screaming about conspiracies and threatening lawsuits that would never come. The Ho board dissolved soon after, stripped of power by court order, and the farm that had been under threat was restored to its rightful owner, me. But I didn't stop there. Using my federal position, I declared the land a protected agricultural zone, ensuring that no Ho or developer could ever touch it again. Willow Creek slowly transformed from a community of fear under Karen's rule to a place of freedom, where neighbors actually helped each other instead of tattling for petty violations. And though people now treated me with awe and respect, I went back to being the same farmer they had always seen, a man in boots, working his fields, living in peace. The difference was, they now knew who they were dealing with. Sometimes I'd catch whispers when I walked into Tona, "That's him, the Secretary of Transportation, the one who brought down the Ho." And though I never flaunted my title, I couldn't help but smile, because in the end, Karen had built a runway alright, but it was a straight path to her own downfall. My farm still stands, my fields still grow, and every time I see planes flying high above, I think of the one runway that never got built, thanks to the arrogance of an Ho that underestimated the wrong farmer.